and welcome back to Rue's Life. I am here in the polytunnel and I hope that you're not hearing too much the wind noise around me. We have been absolutely battered over the last few days by a succession of storms. I can't even remember all their names. Was it Eunice, then somebody beginning with an H, and then somebody today? I can't even remember. I can't even remember. All I know is that it's storm after storm after storm, and we're being completely battered. I don't know if you can hear and see that. The polytunnel really is a rumbling and a shaking. But fingers crossed, so far it's stayed put. I'm making sure that both doors are fully closed, because obviously it's the wind getting in that's going to cause any problems. But I'll be honest with you, we've battened down the hatches, we've been sitting in the house, staying safe, making sure all the animals are safe, keep popping out and making sure everything here is safe. But I really wanted to get out and get on with something today. I've got some time at home and I wanted to use it wisely. And today I've been thinking about my plans going ahead, because this weather's not going to last forever. And in fact, it's 17.1 degrees here in the polytunnel at the moment, and it's 10.4 degrees outside, so it's really mild. It's by no means cold, it's just really windy. The rain has finally stopped. It's been bouncing down for days. We've got a massive flood in one of our paddocks. The chicken area is really soggy, but what we've done is thrown down some wood shavings. We had a lot of shavings left from when we were chainsawing wood, which was the aftermaths of the last batch of storms that we had, and we've saved all that fine sawdust and we've spread that down in the chicken area so that they're not in the mud, and also the pathways from us to the chicken area, so we're not slipping and sliding in that mud. So I'm thinking about going forward, things I need to be doing and I'd like to be doing, and things I'm going to be doing. So the positives are, you know, as I speak, the polytunnel will probably blow away over my head. But so far, everything here has remained fairly intact. We haven't got so much damage this time, apart from some flooding and, as I say, it being very wet. All animals are okay and all structures are okay at the moment. That's got to be a positive. Outside in the beds, the onions are looking great. The celery that I've overwintered is also looking good. The few brassicas I've got going are looking great. And the chives that I wasn't sure whether they'd survived or not, we've got some lovely new tiny shoots coming through on those chives. So we've got a little bit of growth there on those, which is fantastic. The rhubarb's coming through. So things are starting to happen. Here in the polytunnel, I've got some carrot seedlings, some turnip seedlings and some spinach and chard, and then in the other bed I've got some onions and some leek seedlings. I've still got a few leek seedlings that I need to transplant, so that's something I'm going to do over the next couple of days, just get them into a bed and give them a chance, because they're sitting in trays and pots and they're not going to develop, so I need to get those out into a bed, and I'm going to pop them in here. I tend to find I have problems with the birds outside pecking at things. Because of the wind and the weather at the moment, it's not really practical for me to be trying to net things. So I've had great success in the past, so I'm going to do it again, and that's to I start my leek from seed. When they're nice little seedlings, I start them in the beds here in the polytunnel, and then when they're more mature, I put them out into one of the outdoor beds. So we've got a few that are ready to go into one of these indoor beds. Then here on the staging, these are the little cauliflower seedlings, and they're looking really good after I potted them on. I'll leave a link above to that video where I actually finally got around to potting those out of one pot into their individual pots, and they're coming along really well. I don't usually use these type of cell trays. They're the flimsy ones. They're not particularly expensive. I've bought 1, 2, 3, 4, I think I've got 12 of those, and they are 40 cells per tray. And the plan for those is I've got this lovely wildflower mix that I was given as part of my birthday present from one of my sisters, We've unsuccessfully been trying to get a wildflower meadow area going, and it's just not worked the ways that we've been trying to do it. So we've been preparing the ground really, really well, and we've been sowing them, and we've had a little bit of germination, but it just hasn't been successful because essentially this area was always grazing land for sheep, and the grass and some of the weeds just have been too much. They've been overtaking the seedlings, and they've just not had a chance to flourish. So this year I'm actually going to start them off as these little cells. So once I've got those established as plugs, I'm then going to use my bulb planter, which again, I'll leave a link above to those of you that haven't seen that in action, to me planting some bulbs a couple of seasons back. But those of you that are aware of aren't aware of a bulb planter, essentially it takes a good plug of soil out, so I can take those plugs out and put, when you're planting bulbs you then put the bulb in and put the plug back, but on this occasion I will just put my plug plants in, and I think that's going to be a better way to establish these wildflowers, so fingers crossed. So in the next coming days and weeks I am going to start these seeds off in these trays. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start my sweet peas. I've got a really good selection. I've got some lovely old-fashioned, they are called old-fashioned mix. I've got some royal mixed, horizon mixed, giant waved mixed, cupani and beeline. A really lovely selection of sweet peas. I'm really looking forward. I may not sow them all, but I'm going to choose some, soak them, and then get those going so they've got a bit of a head start, and I'll be starting those here in the polytunnel. I will probably pop them in my little plastic propagators. They're non-heated, but just for that little bit of extra protection, because the temperatures may still plummet before spring arrives. And then other plans are, let me just have a swig of my coffee. That's good. So, as part of my birthday present, I have been given, see if I can get this to come out of the box, some more of this weed suppressant membrane. Now, I've mentioned this before. I know it can be a bit controversial, it's not everybody's cup of tea, but for me it has really, really worked here. It's cut down on a lot of work, saves a lot of the weeds coming through, but it also makes for some great pathways. Again, I'll leave a link above to our recent fabulous find, which is all those lovely wood chips. So I've got, I can't remember what the length of this is, let's have a look, but it's a really good amount. It may not say, but I think this is a 50-metre roll by maybe 3 metres, 2 metres wide, can't remember, but it's enough that I can really get on and get some of these paths finished, which is going to make life so much easier around here. It's going to prevent the weeds coming across, it's going to help with slug control, it's going to make it less slippy and muddy underfoot, and it's just going to look all that bit nicer as well. And of course, as the wood chip breaks down, I can then scrape that off and use it for making compost. So it's got lots of really good benefits from my perspective. It works for me and I'm going to stick with it. So that's that. And then at the moment everything's a little bit of a mess in here, so I'll just walk you round and show you what's going on in here and why. So it has become a little bit of a dumping ground over the last couple of months, and that's just because we have had such a succession of storms. So my bird feeder, which is outside, I've left the bird feeder in place and it's stayed put, but I have brought the actual feeders and the little bits and bobs that go onto that feeding station, and they're just in here until these storms have died down. We have got to say it's really cluttered and untidy in here, but there's nothing I can do about it until these storms have gone. You can see I've got lots of lovely cauliflower seedlings going on there. As already mentioned, I've got my sweet peas, which I'm going to start soaking and get those going. I've got my plans to get the wildflowers into these cells. Here there's a variety of bits and bobs that just need sorting and either planting out or potting on. There's a few straggly little onions here that were actually from last season that just need processing and eating really. There's a lot of junk stuffed underneath here which needs to be sorted through. And then across here, still a little bit of my homemade compost left here in this tub. Let me just reach down and you can have a little look at that. So this is really lovely, good quality, crumbly compost from my compost heaps outside, and there's plenty more where that came from. Let's just bring you up. The geraniums in the hanging basket, I think we've got a little bit of growth. That will focus. So you can see there's a tiny little leaf coming there, and there are a few on all of them. So hopefully they have actually survived, despite me not fleecing them. Ooh, a big wagon coming past outside. And then, as I've already mentioned, we've got some seedlings in this bed. We've got some leek and onions in that bed, and they are some leek seedlings. All in this bed, or these two beds, are just empty pots, and down here, as you can see, I've got a mass of canes and sticks, and there's pots and crates and stuff pretty much everywhere. So as you can see, despite the stormy weather, I'm still feeling really positive. I've been sitting in the shed making lists while I waited for the kettle to boil earlier, and I've got lots of plans and lots of things to be looking forward to. So I hope you're all well. I hope that those of you that are being affected by the storms are staying safe. Do pop me a comment below to let me know what your plans are. What are you sowing or growing at the moment, and what have you got planned for the very near future? As ever, thank you ever so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you all again soon.